2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix race notes. Sabrina's race notes. Dick, I was able to watch the race late this afternoon. I had Easter services and quickly jotted down notes before I had to head out on my next trip. Number 1, we are in for a championship fight. It comes down to who gets pole and or who leads into the first corner because the margins are definitely tight. Number 2, Williams got double points. Super nice in my opinion. I do think it's track specific. All the data seemed to indicate Williams was fast in a straight line. This track would have been the place for Williams to have had such a breakout. They maximized what a Williams can do. I think the next time we'll see something like this might be Monza. Number 3, dirty air seems to be an issue. I'll be interested to see how the teams cope with it after this break. Number 4, Isaac continues to impress me, as does Kimi Antonelli. Number 5, Ferrari played to their strengths with Leclerc. He was a tire whisperer, especially in their second stint. Congrats on their first Grand Prix podium of the season. Number 6, Fernando continues to drive that car to the max. Unfortunately, it's only getting him to P11. Number 7, I think Oscar's win at the tail end of a triple header is very impressive. With little downtime and quick turnaround between races, the level of discipline and focus is indeed impressive. Number 8, speaking of downtime, I think Oscar needs this break and hopefully will renew his spirits ahead of Miami, a place with wonderful memories for him. I worry that he appears to be mentally where Charles was 3 years ago. We all know how that went. Number 9, teams are definitely in spin mode, and that goes to my political background. Listening to team principals, I kept thinking, how will this break affect their strategies both for 25 development efforts and 26? Number 10, if you haven't watched the F2 Jeddah race, do it now. Go cheer on a fantastic qualifying by American racer Jack Crawford. It was absolutely brilliant. And then go watch the feature race. As I told you, Dick, for sure I'm bummed he didn't get P1 because he drove his heart out, but it came down to strategy. His resilience and determination after the sprint race that didn't go his way only makes me admire him more. And as you know, we had the opportunity to interview Jack, and this young man makes my heart smile. So we should go and cheer him on. I can't wait to see his next race efforts. Dick's race notes.
Well, hey everybody, it's great to be back with you again. Big shout out to Sabrina last week after the race in Bahrain. I have to say that my allergies here in North Texas were absolutely killing me, so I handed my race notes off to Sabrina and she read them as opposed to me delivering them to you. And so a big shout out to Sabrina because she did a great job backing up her partner. So thanks, Sabrina, and it's great to be back with you guys. So I thought the race in Jeddah today was actually a really exciting, fun race to watch. I think, first of all, one of my notes really that I just wanted to discuss is the fact that the Jeddah track is an amazing circuit. It is fast, it's spectacular, it's unforgiving, and it's in some places downright scary. Having raced on tracks that were obviously dangerous in the past, I can tell you that putting together a really good, fast lap is incredibly rewarding. But at the same time, when you race on a track like that is so unforgiving, where you're going so fast and the walls are right there just waiting to, snatch you up. It's one of those deals where when you finish the race and you're in one piece and the car's in one piece, you can take a great amount of satisfaction in a job well done. But the other side of it is that you also have a sense of relief that you don't have to go and do that again anytime soon. Monaco is a lot like that, except that the speed at Monaco is nothing like what they're experiencing in Jeddah. So big hats off to those guys. There wasn't an enormous amount of carnage, but it certainly was quite the race. And like I said, under the lights and the cars going that fast, that close to the wall, and the sparks coming off of the skid blocks underneath the car, man, in some areas it was just absolutely spectacular. So I really enjoyed watching the race. I think if we think about the race, there's two big things that happened before the green light or before the lights ever went out, and we were racing in green conditions. The first was the lap that Max put in to grab pole was absolutely an amazing lap, probably one of his best pole laps that we've seen in his career. I think it was really interesting. If you watch the onboard video, that car did not look diabolical at all. I mean, we've heard all about, it being very finicky and having a very narrow setup window and hard to drive and very front end positive and only Max can drive it and all that. Well, Max used that car to really, really good effect. And if you watch the video of his qualifying lap, you'll see that his hands are very, very slow on the steering wheel. There was not a whole lot of back and forth and the car snapping on him or him trying to coerce the car to turn or anything like that, which leads me to believe, given the high-speed nature of that track and how smooth it is, it seems to me that the RB21 is really, really good on tracks that feature a lot of high-speed corners and has a surface that's pretty smooth. Now, that's not what we saw, of course, in Japan, but on the other hand, it seems like that car is maybe a little bit on the specific side of needing a smooth surface and lots of high-speed corners. So we'll see if that plays out over time, but it's certainly starting to feel that way. The second thing that I would say that happened in qualifying, of course, was the fact that Lando Norris crashed out of Q3, which left him 10th on the grid. And normally I would have been very concerned for Lando and what his mental state might have been, but he responded very, very nicely. He missed the crash between Yuki and Pierre Gasly on the first lap. He could have very easily have been collected by that accident, but instead he was able to work his way through and then continue to move up through the field. And so he went and, started the race in 10th, finished 4th. In my opinion, it was very much the drive of the race. That said, Oscar Piastri certainly put in a very strong, solid performance. On the first lap, we had the whole controversy going into the first turn between Oscar on the inside for turn 1, Max trying to go to the outside of turn 1 of being on the outside of Oscar, and Max pulling out of it and cutting across the track to basically prevent an accident, in my opinion. I think Oscar had every opportunity to understeer into Max and take one or both of them out of the race, and Max avoided that. But that said, he probably should have seceded his position and given it back to Oscar and settled into second place. And instead he got clipped with a 5-second penalty, which pretty much decided the race right there. The other thing that happened that I thought was very interesting was the crash between Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly. Remember, those two were teammates. Pierre was very much the big brother figure to Yuki. And for those two to get together, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that between the two of themselves. It's an interesting thing because this is another one of those racing accidents. First lap incident, Pierre's on the outside trying to make the pass. Yuki's on the inside. They're going through the corner. Yuki understeers into him, and Yuki's right front hits Pierre's left rear with the kind of consequences that everyone would expect from a collision like that. And both of them wound up in the wall and out of the race, which is really too bad. That was certainly Yuki's best qualifying performance since being promoted to the Red Bull seat. So I think give them another couple of weeks of working in the simulator and having a think before they head off to Miami. And it'll be interesting to see how much more of the gap that Yuki closes between himself and Max. Another thing that I thought was pretty amazing was the pass that Oscar made after his pit stop when he came back and passed Lewis Hamilton. Lewis was not giving him any room, and Oscar made a really brave pass out in the dirty part of the track that could easily have put him in the wall, but he went right on past him, and you would have thought the tires would have been dirty and he would have needed to spend a couple of corners cleaning the tires off before they went. and he really started going fast. And maybe he did, but it sure seemed like, A, it was a really brave move. And secondly, I thought that it really looked like his pace was undiminished, that the tires did not pick up a bunch of dirt and, slag off of the other tires. So I thought it was an amazing pass. Beyond that, certainly watching Norris's charge up through the field, I think if a few more laps had transpired, I think he certainly would have gotten Charles Leclerc for third place. As it was, Leclerc drove a very nice, tidy race and certainly was very deserving of that third place. I think as we think about the field and the pecking order that we're seeing right now, there's no question in my mind that McLaren has a car that is very good on all tracks. And for the next group, whether it's Mercedes, Red Bull, or Ferrari, I think you're going to see that from track to track, each car has its own strengths. And so the second best car will not necessarily be the second best car on paper. It'll be the second best car because of what the track configuration looks like. I think we'll see probably a shift in the running order, assuming that there's no updates, a shift in the running order at a place like Imola compared to what we saw today in Jeddah. The battle of the midfield I thought was certainly interesting. I was a little surprised that Haas was off the pace, but clearly they were. And of course, the two teams that are really running at the back right now, certainly Stake and then Aston Martin, sad to say, but they had another very, very difficult weekend. In the case of the Aston Martin, the car looks like it's actually pretty decent through the corners, but they're just dead slow going down the straights. So there's definitely some work there that suggests that they just don't have very good aerodynamic efficiency. The Racing Bulls, I thought, looked pretty strong. I think Alpine would have been strong had Gasly not crashed out on the first lap. So, yeah, kind of interesting. And Williams, they had a good day, no question about it. Sainz and Albon just looked really strong all weekend. So now we're looking at 2 weeks, and then we go to Miami. It ought to be really, really interesting. So thanks to everybody for tuning in, and we're going to be talking soon.